Do you own a home in the UK but it isn't large enough? Do you want to build a two-storey house extension without having to apply for planning permission? Believe it or not, this is possible, but I don't think it's a good idea. Let me explain. Permitted development rules were updated in 2024 to include two-storey house extensions. In this video, I'm going to show you how this works and why I think both permitted development and two-storey extensions can cause serious issues. If they're not managed properly, they could ruin your home. At the end of the video, let me know in the comments if you still think permitted development is right for you. What is permitted development? Permitted development allows homeowners in the UK to extend their property without the need to apply for planning permission. But the permitted development system sets strict limits on the size of any extension. Not every home has permitted development rights. If you live in a flat or maisonette or your home is listed, then your property does not have permitted development rights and any extension to your home will need planning permission. If your home is in a conservation area, national park, area of outstanding natural beauty, or a World Heritage Site, its permitted development rights can be limited or even removed entirely by your local authority. Always check with the local planning department. They publish maps of relevant areas showing what permitted development rights homes have, if any. Using permitted development to build two-storey house extensions. Permitted development started 10 years ago and, due to its popularity, the government have increased the size and type of buildings that can benefit from permitted development rights. Several changes were introduced in 2024. One of these new changes is the ability for some homes to build a two-storey extension under permitted development, but as with everything in permitted development, there are limitations. First off, the existing house must have at least 2 stories. You won't be allowed to build a two-storey extension on a one-storey house. The two-storey extension can only be at the rear of the house, not at the side. The extension can't take up more than 50% of the area around your home. Now be aware that this calculation can become complex. The measurements take outbuildings and previous extensions into account, and if you want to build an extension this large, you should take professional advice first. The two-storey extension cannot be any more than 3 meters out from the existing rear wall of the house, and there must be at least 7 meters between the new extension and the rear boundary of the garden. Now this figure varies to 10 meters in Scotland and 10.5 in Wales. The extension must use materials that match the existing house. The slope of the extension roof must match the existing house roof, and the extension's eaves and ridge cannot be taller than the existing house eaves and ridge. The design cannot have any balconies on the upper floor. If any extension comes within 2 meters of any boundary, then the eaves cannot be taller than 3 meters. This makes it impossible to build a two-storey extension unless it's more than 2 meters away from any boundary. And any windows on the side walls of the new extension must have translucent glazing, and they can't be openable unless the openable part is more than 1.7 meters above the internal floor. On the subject of windows, if you are thinking about altering or extending your property, check out the sponsor of today's video. Sunflex UK design and manufacture high-quality aluminium windows and doors in the UK. I've used them on several of my own projects, and I believe they offer a great balance between cost and quality. Don't just take my word for it though, check out these videos I made, which include the costs. There's a link up here and in the description below. Why permitted development can be a trap for homeowners. There are 2 ways that permitted development can be a trap for homeowners. First, while permitted development is very useful for homeowners, keep in mind that it was introduced to make life easier for the planners. Permitted development removed a large number of small applications from the system, freeing up time for the planners to focus on larger applications. Every week, I give advice to homeowners from all corners of the UK during my online consultation service. No 2 clients are the same, but many of them fear the planning system. I have lost count of the number of people who want to use permitted development because they worry unnecessarily about lodging a planning application. They see permitted development as a cheat code that will get them an extension which they wouldn't otherwise be allowed, and that is the wrong way to look at it. If a house has permitted development rights, it may have a reasonable chance of getting planning approval to build a larger extension than permitted development will allow. Always start by looking at what you need. If a larger extension is affordable and will give you a better home, do not restrict yourself by creating a smaller extension just because that is what permitted development allows. If you choose to limit the size of your house extension just to avoid making a planning application, that is a false economy. The second way that permitted development can trap homeowners is when they come to sell a house that has been extended using permitted development. When the system was introduced, it did not require homeowners to interact with the planning system. The whole point was to reduce the workload for local planning officers. The planning system does not require homeowners to make an application to confirm they have permitted development rights, but that has not stopped mortgage providers from asking for proof that extensions were designed using permitted development rules. Mortgage lenders regularly ask for a lawful development certificate as evidence that extensions are permitted development. Now, while you could apply for an LDC retrospectively, it may not solve the problem because the planning legislation gives local authorities the power to reduce or remove permitted development rights. What might have been permitted development when you built that extension may no longer be the case. If you apply for an LDC retrospectively, the planners will only consider the rules in force on the day you make the application, not the rules as they were back when you built that extension. In this situation, you could be refused an LDC and then have to apply for retrospective planning approval, with the risk that that could be refused and then the extension would have to be demolished. I would advise anyone considering using permitted development to apply for a lawful development certificate before building anything, even if the planning system does not require one. The planners will process the application and confirm in writing that your proposed design has permitted development. This can save a lot of hassle if you sell the house later on. Why two-story house extensions are not the answer. Two-story extensions often sound like an ideal way to increase the size of a house, but they can create more problems than they solve. If you want to build on top of an existing one-story structure, such as a garage, it's almost certain that the foundations of that structure were not designed to carry the extra load of another story on top. I made a video about that problem last year, and there's a link in the description if you want to check it out. In order to get that two-story extension, you may end up having to dismantle the garage, dig out its foundations, and start from scratch. Any savings you expected to get by using an existing structure could turn into additional cost to remove that structure. In my experience, people want a two-story extension because they need more bedrooms. Most two-story homes in the UK are designed with living space on the ground floor and bedrooms upstairs, so this makes sense. The problems start when trying to connect the new room to the existing hall or stairs. Now that could involve creating a new corridor through an existing bedroom to access the new bedroom. This too could be a false economy. In my own practice, I have talked people out of building a two-story extension and instead created a larger one-story extension, then converting an existing room on the ground floor into a new bedroom. This usually involves applying for planning permission, but that is seldom an issue. After hearing my thoughts on permitted development, do you still think it's right for your home? And if you are thinking about extending a home anywhere in the UK, you can get my advice by booking an online consultation on the reallifearchitecture.co.uk website. There's a link in the description. Please read the terms and conditions before you book. If you found this video useful, check out this playlist and be sure to drop a like. It really helps the channel.